Hello, I'm David Stanfield, and if I've met you, it's been a while since I've seen you. And I just wanted to let you know a little bit about what had happened to me during the last 18 months when everything changed and things were not going the way they were before. I have been working for over 12 years in a remote Aboriginal community at the very top of Australia. I was invited there because I was the banner man, and they had banners in their culture which they used at funerals and they used to mark different tribal groups. And so they invited me to come and to bring a biblical perspective on how banners were used, what colors meant, how God intended them to be used in the Bible. And so I was involved in some early days in just expressing that and getting the men moving with banners. But as I was there over the years, I saw that not only did banners need to be brought back and be used within a God context, but their own language and their own music and their own instruments and their own dance. And so it began a journey where I worked with senior tribal leaders to bring an understanding of what the Bible taught about cultural worship, their own, and the fact that it was good for them to be Aboriginal Christians rather than have to become white to become Christians. And so it's been a long journey with a number of different leaders. But they asked me to come back in March last year to be part of a celebration of the 39th anniversary of the revival that happened. A really remarkable revival where God came not as a Western spirit, but as the Spirit of God. And they danced in their own style, they sang songs, they prayed. But then the Western church came in and sort of said, well, who are the leaders? And took them off to train them in theological studies. And the leaders were taken out to various places. The revival spread, but the revival also petered out. So there is still a generation of 50, 60, 70, 80-year-olds who remember that, who lived it, and who know that God is not a God of church buildings and pews, that he's much more than that. And so I've been working to encourage them. But in March I was over there for this revival. We were using banners during the revival celebration, and COVID struck. And a biosecurity zone was declared around the island and the region around the island in the Northern Territory, because Aboriginal people are incredibly at risk with COVID, because more than 30% of them have pre-existing conditions that mean that COVID would have created chaos. And so we were at a point where I was there with the elders. I was about to go home, but if I'd gone home, I probably couldn't have come back for 3 to 6 months. And so they got together and decided they'd like me to come back and to work with them more full time. And so for the last year, I have been working with Indigenous leaders, looking at what does it mean to be free? What does it mean to actually have Jesus transform us as individuals and us as a community from the inside out? And of course, all of my work around the world in setting people free from the spirit of religion and the spirit of control, and learning to live fearlessly and not being affected by what other people think, and hearing God for yourself and knowing when it's your mind, your will, your culture speaking, and when it's the Spirit of God speaking. So all of that stuff combined together with banners. So my banners have been up there with me, and they've been used in marches through the city, in intercession and praying around the community, even in football, in big football games, which are very important in Aboriginal communities up there, asking the Lord to stop the violence and to protect the community. And one of my most amazing experiences when 50 footballers all yelled Amen after I'd prayed, holding this giant Lion of Judah banner at the beginning of the grand final. So amazing experience mixing in banner stuff with freedom stuff, with hearing from God stuff and being who God created you to be. So for me, I've missed terribly traveling and being able to connect with you in other countries and around Australia even, but the Lord very clearly directed me and redirected me into this space. And so as things begin to lift, as travel becomes easier, as the vaccine spread and travel looks like it might be happening again. So there's a shift back towards that. But I've committed for another couple of years to stay connected and to support the leadership in Arnhem Land, not just in banners, but in the idea of what does your Christianity look like? What does Aboriginal Christianity look like when Jesus takes what's good in a culture and magnifies it because of who he is? And so it's not an easy job. It's cross-culturally challenging, temperature challenging, accommodation challenging, vehicle challenging, but it has been the most exhilarating and extraordinary experience to work cross-culturally with a group of people that already use banners, but that have a different perspective of God, of a God who was here before the missionaries came, and of a God who spoke to them and taught them, and that they connected to. And so I just want to let you know a little bit of what I was doing. We're about to begin the newsletters again. We're about to begin some Zoom conferences. We're doing some in French. We may be doing some soon in other languages. But just to say that God is still on his throne. And no matter where it is that you find yourself, no matter what you find yourself doing, I want to encourage you to keep listening and to keep searching out opportunities to use this amazing tool that God has put in your hands to make a difference in the world where you are at the moment, until the doors open for you to go to other places. Keep changing the spiritual atmosphere where you are. God bless you.